Shalom, all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the hopeful elect Akim that are teaching this word. Shalom, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah Kodash. Now, as you can see this video here, it pops up on the social media. This guy does pretty good videos. He keeps popping up on the algorithm. And in this one, he pretty much talks about, the curses that's on our people. I mean, the guy's Argentinian. He's a Hispanic. This guy, people try to talk smack to him on the comment boards, etc. He's from Argentina, but he's an Israelite. It's clear he's a Jake. There's some, ignorant people that talk a lot of nonsense on the comment boards because of his appearance. But he is an Israelite. Anyway, he makes some real good points in this video, and I'm going to play it, right? Because for years, Esau and the other nations, in particular Esau, because Esau's on top and he's ruling at this current time. There's been that narrative of every time Jake bring up our plight, we're told to forget it. Every time Jake we bring up our plight, which is captivity and slavery and the oppression that we've had to suffer under Esau, they tell us to forget it. So let me play this here, because the scriptures don't forget. The Lord don't forget. Yahweh Hashem Shai doesn't forget, all right? So it's quite a long video, but I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to play some points he says. But the scriptures, the Lord don't forget. Yahweh Hashem Shai don't forget. What did he say? He said, be not deceived, the Lord is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Yeah, so on this planet Earth, what has the so-called white man sown? He's sown death and destruction, man. Raping, robbing, murdering. All right? That's the legacy of the Edomites. Okay? Murdering the whole planet Earth, murdering our people, enslaving our people. All right? Psychological warfare. Warfare against our people with his media. So they've done a number on our people, man. Okay? The music industries, the movie industries, and all they do is mock our people, man. But times are changing. See, we're in a time now at the twilight zone of the twilight years of twilight days, shall I say, of the so-called white man's world, man. It's clear, all right?
Jewish people are the most oppressed people on this earth. The Holocaust was the single worst thing that ever occurred in humanity. Oh, it's worse than slavery. It's the worst genocide in human history. We are more oppressed than black people, than Native Americans, than anybody on this planet, okay? Did you know that they had cookbooks on how to cook and eat slaves? Ingredients and ways to cook a black person during slavery. They had 0 cookbooks on how to eat a Jewish person during the Holocaust. The idea that you could reduce a human being to a meal, that you could write down recipes for how to eat a slave like they were just ingredients is sickening. It's cannibalism. It truly shows a level of dehumanization that is very hard to wrap your head around. You know how demonic that is? They had demonic rituals sacrificing black people during slavery, and this was just one of them. Did you know that King Leopold II from Belgium slaughtered 20 million Congolese people in the Congo? 20 million! That's infinitely more than the Holocaust, right? Slavery, the genocide in the Congo, the genocide in Palestine, the genocide of the indigenous people in the Americas, the destruction of Haiti, all of those things were infinitely worse than the Holocaust, and it's not even up for debate. We gotta talk about this. 400 years, by the way, 400 years. 400 years of chattel slavery in this country. Longer than the United States has even existed as a nation, and we still can't look at it straight. We get museums about other people suffering overseas, memorials built overnight, reparations cut and delivered with apologies and ceremonies, but when it comes to what happened here, on this soil, to black and indigenous bodies, get over it. That was a long time ago. Why do you make everything about race? Gaslighting, dismissing, rejection, defensiveness, or just straight silence. The Holocaust lasted 12 years. 12 years of industrialized horror, and yes, it was terrible. But American slavery, the indigenous genocide, those lasted 2.5 centuries, followed by another century of legal apartheid, followed by what we have now. Mass incarceration, redlining, segregation, medical apartheid, educational segregation by zip code, and funding formula. The trauma is cumulative. It didn't end. It shapeshifted. And the thing about the Holocaust, it was a sprint. It was a 4-year marathon of death. Yes, a lot of people died. Yes, it was terrible. But guess what? It was finite. Slavery was a marathon that lasted for centuries. It wasn't just about killing you. It was about breaking you, breeding you, working you, and then selling your kids before you even knew their names. The Holocaust was an extermination. Slavery was a consumption. And when you're consumed, you're never really done. You're just served up again and again. I mean, we're talking about generations of human beings born into legal property status, born into property. Your mother is property. You are property. Your children will be property. A system where a white man could own your eyes, your teeth, your tongue, your womb, your future, where families were separated not by tragedy, but by accounting, split up because someone died, and their assets needed to be divided among heirs. They turned black skin into furniture. Did they do that to Jewish people? Medical schools used black bodies without consent to advance science. They experimented on them. The rape of black women was so systematic, it created a whole new demographic of mixed-race children who were also property. You want to talk about reparations? Let's talk about reparations. Jewish survivors of the Holocaust received over $100 billion in reparations from Germany and other nations. The U.S. government helped facilitate this. They opened their doors. Meanwhile, everybody else is still tying their shoes. Black people got the Emancipation Proclamation, which was basically a piece of paper that said you were free, but it didn't say you were rich or taken care of. In fact, they got stripped of everything. The 40 acres and a mule shit was the joke of the century. And before black people even got a sniff of a dime, the slave owners got compensated. The slave owners. The government looked at the white landowners and said, yeah, your property, that happens to be a human being, was taken from you. Here's a check. The actual human being that suffered and was traumatized got nothing. So now we're here, 400 years later. You look at the Native Americans too. They got pushed onto reservations that are essentially open-air prisons. Alcohol, crime, addiction, depression, suicide, abuse. Desert ghettos. That's what I call them. Desert ghettos. It's a cycle that was engineered to keep them from breaking free. And black people were given the fruit of the tree, but the roots were still being watered by the same hands that planted them. The U.S. government paid reparations to white slave owners after the Civil War for their
Need we say more?
lost property.
Need we say more? These are things we've been saying for years anyway with the scriptures, but social media, what did the Rockefeller say? The Rockefeller said, you know, we should never have created the internet. Why? Because the men of the Lord came on the internet, you know, the apostles, the elders, uploading videos on the internet, you know what I mean? And bringing forth this fruit, man, the lineage of One West, bringing forth this truth into what we have today, you know, refined into GMS, which we believe we got the 100% truth, the apostles, the elders of GMS, pushing this word, man. And what's the tool that we use? The internet, the Urim and the Thummim, man, the internet. And you know what? What's happening these days now, we're at the end of the world, you get people like this guy as well, this Jake. He's a Jake. He ain't in the truth, but he's learning truths and he's bringing out history. All right? So the world's waking up to you Edomites, man. You heard all the things he was saying, man. And these are things we in the truth been saying for years because it's in the scriptures. But it just shows you, man, the knowledge of what's really going on is getting out there. All right? And everyone's looking at the so-called white man for what they really are, especially those, especially the you-know-who's, you know? The you-know-who's, you know? So that's what they've said. He even brought it up. He mentioned, you know, how they pretty much, get over it, etc., etc. No, you so-called white people, man, you've had a leg up in this system. And all that, we freed, and they always love to boast of themselves. Oh, we freed slaves. No, you didn't, man. You didn't free anyone, man. How can you free somebody into a system that's designed to keep them down and not get anywhere? You're not freeing anyone. You took us off the plantations, but put us into the mental and still physical slavery, but the mental slavery also. All right? So all you did is get rid of the plantations, really. That's it. The physical plantations. All right? And then you put us into the system that we have today, basically. But even after slavery, there was Jim Crow, there was all sorts of stuff that was going on. But the point is, all that they freed us to, trying to make themselves sound holy. You got to read between the lines and really get into the information. The Emancipation Proclamation, emancipation doesn't mean to free. It was basically a transferal, man. All right, from the plantations into the industrial slavery, man, and then into what you have today, the corporate slavery that we have today, all right? So it's just another form of using us, man, all right? So, and Esau as a whole, the so-called white people, they've had a leg up in this system, as a whole. They've had a leg up in this system. They've had a 400-year head start, man. We can never catch them. The way we can catch Esau is he's got to be brought down and we got to rule. That's just how it's going to be, because Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans as a whole will never reach the heights of the elite Edomites in this world. You're not going to get all of that generational wealth talk. It's not going to happen, all right? Esau's got to go down first. Then we're going to be the ones on top. That's how it works. And we're going to take what they've stole from us, which is ours anyway. See how it works? So this is Daniel 9 and 12. It says, and he have confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil, for under the whole heaven have not been done, as have been done upon Jerusalem. All right? So that's what the scripture says. The scripture says the great evil. So what's that great evil, man? The slavery. Fast forward to the slavery of the Americas, all right, which was a horrendous crime by the so-called white man upon our people, all right, which is biblical prophecy, but that's that great evil, all right? It says it here, which it says, by bringing upon us a great evil, for under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. Yeah, so no nation has ever gone through what we've been through as a people. The lineage of Israel, the Israelites, the Negro, Hispanic, Native American, you know, the hell we've been through, no one else has ever experienced that, ever. No other nation's ever gone through that. So you see, if Elam had to deal with what we dealt with as a people, they'll be dead. They'll die. See, the other nations, the heathens, they'll be dead. If they have to experience what Jake has gone through, they'll be dead by now. They'll be gone, you know. But the Lord made us have to go through these things, pretty much for prophecy's sake, and then to raise us up again. He, it wasn't it wasn't to completely exterminate us. It was a punishment. But what did the scripture say? In fact, you know what? Let me get that one. Let me get this one. Oh yeah, that's the one. Zechariah 1 and 15, right? It says in the King James at the top there, Zechariah 1 and 15, it says, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Exactly. So that's, you put Esau at the top there. It says he was very displeased with the heathen that are at ease. I'm very displeased. It says, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Exactly. So the Lord allowed Esau to put us in slavery because he was pissed off with us for not following his law, statutes, and commandments. We've always had a history of pretty much breaking the laws, man, not following what the Lord says to do. All right, that's what we've done. But you know what? They forwarded it. They went above and beyond what they were supposed to do. See, Esau went above and beyond what he was supposed to do. He had us in captivity, and they just went buck wild, crazy, doing what the hell they wanted with us. You heard what that Jake was talking about, man. The Delectable Negroes. That was a book. We know about that book. Brothers in Great Millstone go into that. But the Delectable Negroes, a book basically going into Esau eating our people, man. They were eating our people, and they were doing that. They've been doing that, right? So Esau was just fulfilling his wildest dreams when he had us in captivity. He's like, we're completely under his authority, especially during the first times they had us in hardcore bondage. We were completely under their authority, so they did as they pleased with our people, man. So the Lord was a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. They forwarded the affliction to what you have today. Our people are completely gone, man. The whole head is sick, all right? But why has this happened to our people? Because of the implementation, the slavery, the systemic racism, etc. of this system. But you see, we're in the days now where the Lord's exposing Esau, completely exposing Esau and the other nations for what they've been doing, but in particular the international bankers. See, we're at the time of their end. And you see, that's why the lower level so-called white man, like we say, the Joe six-pack, lower level kind of Edomite, six-pack Edomites, the lower level beer drinker ones, like, right? They know their system's coming to its end, because they're throwing tantrums, basically. The lower level Edomites, they're upset because they know, things have changed. We ain't got it the way we used to have it. And that's partly because it's the Lord ending this place, and also the wicked elites are basically coming down on everybody, Jake and their own people. But it's the Lord doing this. So the lower level Edomites, they're fucking losing it. See, the so-called white man ain't got the power that he once had before. And that's why they're losing it. They know their shit's dwindling. Their authority is dwindling. So this is Psalms 83, and from the top it says, "Keep not thou silence, O Lord, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O my power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head." Yeah, the enemies make a tumult. That's the other nations. You know, that tumult is that great coming together that they've done. All right? And it says, they that hate thee, because they all hate us. Okay? And that's another thing too that's happening, is that, a lot of our people are waking up to the depths of this racism, that they're not liked by the nations. You see it all over social media. You're seeing this. It's starting. That awakening is there. Now we know that the elect is going to be reserved by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, but then the Lord does have, the 2/3 of our people that are seeing things, so He can use them in these last days also to go buck wild in America and all over the world, basically, to go against these nations. All right? Because there's that racial tension. The Lord's doing this on purpose, man, building up that racial tension. All right? Between Israel and Esau and the other nations. And guess what? The Lord's going to put the spirit on our people, to have the upper hand on Esau. They're going to wreck some shit, man, before the nuclear missiles drop. Okay? It says, "For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thine hidden ones." The hidden ones are the Israelites. We're hidden because the truth of who we are has been hidden. But the elites of these nations know who we are. But you know what? That crafty counsel is all the things that they've done to keep us down, man. All right? The things they've implemented in law to keep us at the bottom. Things that they've, the oppression, man. That's that crafty counsel. And all the nations are in on it. Okay? "Lifted up the head and have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." Exactly. They've said, "Come and let us cut them off." So they've tried to cut us off, they have cut us off from being a nation. When you hear the name Israel, it's been attached to those people, the Ish. But they're being exposed now. People are seeing that they're not the people, man. The world is seeing that they're not the people. All right? So it says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. They come together against us. The tabernacles of Edom, the so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, and Moab, the Chinese, and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon, the Japanese, and Amalek. And Amalek, that's them, that's the elites, that lineage. All right, those folks, the Ish. All right, the Philistines and inhabitants of Tyre. So this is what it is. All right, they come together against our people. They make that tumult, man. Why? Because they want to see our people destroyed. But that's not what the prophecy says. That ain't what the prophecy says, man. In fact, let me read this here. I'll just keep this quick. But 12. This is it. This one? No. Ecclesiasticus 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Exactly. So this is what it is. The unrighteous dealings of Esau, the injuries that he's committed upon our people and the whole planet Earth. But the Lord there's been many wars on this earth, many deaths that Esau's been a part of, but the Lord only cares about his people. All right? The Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, only cares about the Israelites. He only cares about the descendants of Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. That's it. Okay? It says, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Yes, so the kingdom, which is the power of the planet Earth, is going to be translated from the Edomites, which are ruling now, to the Israelites. The rightful heirs, man. The rightful heirs, which are Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. We're the rightful heirs of the world, the kingdom, the throne. Under Yahweh Shai, of course. He's got to get his first. But that's the natural order. And you know what? You can feel the change is coming. The change is coming. The change of worlds is at hand, man. Okay? And videos like this, with this Salak, yeah? Videos like this,
Jewish people are the most
even more evidence of it. You know, things like this getting viewed on the internet. People are seeing this. Debates on the comment boards as to, you know, people talking. You see, you know, people be on them boards cursing Esau out, right? Even other Edomites, their shame has come upon them, man. You know, because 20 years ago, Edomites were very more boastful about their history, right? There wasn't a public, you know, the public wasn't as outraged against Esau 20 years ago as it is now, basically. You know, when things were so-called running smoother in this system, you know, no one was complaining. But now people are complaining and everyone's looking at the ruler of the earth, which is who? The Esau, and finding out he's been full of shit all along.
systematic. It was terrible. But to say that the Holocaust was the worst thing to ever happen to humanity and that Jewish people are the most oppressed group in history is delusional. And when you actually sit down and look at the math, the history, and the way we treat people today, that statement feels less like a fact and more like a shield. A shield to hide the fact that for black people, for indigenous people, for marginalized communities, the nightmare didn't end when the war did. It just changed rooms. The root of this problem is not just racism. Racism is the symptom. The root is unpaid labor and stolen time. When you enslave a person for 400 years, you're not just taking their labor, you're taking their ability to build wealth, to breathe. You are taking their ability to pass down assets. You're taking their ability to make mistakes because every mistake costs you your life. Whereas for the oppressor, a mistake costs a pocket change. The Holocaust was a tragedy of the body. Slavery was a tragedy of the mind, the soul, the body, and the bank account. And the double standard is blinding. You have a group of people who survived one of the most brutal events in human history, and they use that survival to build an empire of wealth and influence and cause a mass genocide in probably the only place that accepted them in with open arms. The Germans caused you guys horror, not the Palestinians. Why are you guys causing mass terror to the Palestinians? They're trying to justify a genocide of an entire people, nation, land, and country with another, and trying to twist the narrative that they're still the victims by using the anti-Semitism card as a shield to justify their horrific actions of genocide and murder, and they're trying to twist the narrative and warp and distort the history, saying that we're the chosen people, we've been here for 3,000 years, we've always been here, this is our land, there is no Palestine, trying to mass gaslight the world, and it doesn't work. You can't sit up there with...
Yeah, man. Say no more, man. This place is done, man. Esau is finished, man. And even that whole those people, that whole defense they used to have, that's out the window now. No one cares about that because people have woken up to the fact that you're not right. You're not right in the spirit, Esau. People have woken up to these can't be the people. So, yep. So yeah, man, we're at the end, man. We're here, man. So you know with that one, say all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the hopeful elect Akim that are teaching this word. Shalom, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Shalom, shalom.